So you were source energy before you came into this physical body, and a part of you is in this body. And so this vibrational version of you, which is the dominant version of you, is continually evolving. And so there's this vibrational version of you that is all that you want. Now, since law of attraction is responding to all consciousness, that means law of attraction is responding to that vibrational version of you, and law of attraction is responding to what you've got active in your vibration right now version of you. Because this non-physical source energy, vortexual version of you is so far and away dominant, just the longevity of it, and the fact that source is all tied into it, that means that as law of attraction responds to this part of you, it creates a really powerful attraction. Cooperative components are being called to it. The question is, are you allowing yourself to be a cooperative component? But this is what downstream is. It's allowing yourself to move in the direction of who you really are. There is contrast every step along the way. The question is, this is a path of least resistance. You're not ever going to hear us say, get on your path of no resistance. It's the path of least resistance. So we're about to say something really profound. Stay with us. There is the reality version, which is the conditional version, and there's the vortex version, which is the unconditional version. So you say, I feel bad because the condition that I've decided is that I'm not smart based upon this feedback, or I'm not attractive based upon this feedback. But we want you to not go into the justification for the emotion. We just want you to say, it feels terrible. It feels miserable. It feels unhappy. It feels defeated. It feels vulnerable. Because if you make it unconditional for a while, if you make it not about the condition, but only about the feeling, now you've got some easy choices. Happy, sad. Aligned, misaligned. Eager, lethargic. Depressed, angry. Better choice. When you make it unconditional, when you make it emotional, you've got choices you can make right now. You can't change the condition because that bugger is not going to be different today. That person is going to be exactly as you have allowed yourselves to define your relationship to be. But when you say, oh, this isn't about a condition. This is about an emotion over which I have more control than I've been allowing myself. And don't feel bad because almost everybody is responding to the condition. Almost no one makes purely unconditional emotional choices. But you could, you can, you'll like it when you get the hang of it. And sometimes it's easier than others. And you know what? Those people who are the most difficult are giving you the greatest gifts because they're giving you an opportunity to show yourself that you can be unconditional. Because the cooperative ones, they don't give you any advantage. They're just nice and you observe them so you feel good, and then you're running around trying to find nice people and trying to control the niceties of others. That never works because, as we said earlier, enlightenment is a fleeting thing, and so is niceness. Even the nicest people will let you down. If you're counting on their behavior for the way you feel, then you feel vulnerable, then you feel out of control, then you feel like you're failing, then you feel like you can't do this, then you feel like you're not powerful, then you feel like you're not smart. You can't really quickly affect a change even in the expectation that you have of some people, because some people have just been like that long enough that they have trained you and you have allowed yourself to be trained into an expectation about them. And sometimes that condition, you would just be so much better just to get yourself away from them. We are not ever saying to you that it's your job to just stay there and teach yourself alignment anyway. They're clearly not the path of least resistance. And that's what happens to so many of you. You say, oh, I ought to be able to do this. I should be able to make myself happy in the face of all of this abuse. We say, no, you should not. That's not what the art of allowing is. It's not making myself happy in the face of abuse. It's putting myself in a place where the face of abuse isn't in my face all the time. So there's something that we want you to discover during this conversation, and that is somewhere along your trail, you've picked up the belief, and a lot of people do, that there is advantage in struggle, that there's advantage in sacrifice, that there's advantage in drama, in entertaining drama, in the struggle. And because you believe that there's advantage in the struggle, that's your default place. That's where you go to. We know that intellectually, conceptually, you understand law of attraction, and you understand the upstream, downstream, and you understand the flow. And you have, a lot of people do, you believe that momentum is where the power is. You believe that you'd rather be doing something than nothing. Esther did it too. Instead of sitting and centering and doing a focus wheel and reminding herself that things always work out for her, instead of taking the time, she flew out of that door like a streak and went down and presented her problem with such forcefulness. In other words, she did it too. Everyone does it every now and again. What is it about that? Because even Esther says, I got to do something rather than nothing. And we say, eh. And why is that? Why is something rather than nothing a default position for so many of you? Because you have evaluated your success and your value through the eyes of others who are trying to get you to be conditional and action-oriented rather than aligned and energy-oriented. So there isn't anything wrong with any of that, except that now your guidance is showing you that all of your life, the habits and things that you thought were the keys to success now are not the path of least resistance, because the things that you were doing when you didn't know about law of attraction often were not in alignment with what you will do after you know. Understanding your point of attraction changes everything. Understanding why you have emotions changes everything. Understanding who you really are and what you really want changes everything. Understanding what downstream is changes everything. But it takes some time to allow it to change. And for sure, you will not make the change while you're choosing to be hard on yourself. You just can't beat up on yourself. We can't break through that. We can't love you enough to get through your screen of being mad at yourself. So you got to just decide to give some of that up. We want you to be able to say, I am where I am, and where I am is all right. And so you've come into alignment. You've activated your guidance. Things that you used to get away with, you can't get away with anymore because you know too much. You can't go back. It's working for you. You're not failing. You're coming into alignment with who you are. We used to say to people almost every seminar in the beginning that the thing that people would most often say to us, Abraham, is it normal for all hell to break loose in my life when I begin doing this work? And the answer is yes. Because the things that you used to do out of determination and habit, the action-oriented things, don't work in this vibrational-based law of attraction, understanding of what your guidance system is telling you world. It's a different orientation, and you've got to make the jump. And so there isn't anything in the world wrong with negative emotion. We want negative emotion to be a good thing. If the stove is hot, we want you to know it. We don't want you to ignore your guidance and touch the hot stove. That's not good for you. And we don't want you to endure long-standing negative emotion. That's not good for you either. But we don't want you to beat up on yourself for having negative emotion, because that's like throwing yourself on the stove. That is exaggerating it, you see. And that's what true drama is. Drama is, here's a good definition for you. Drama is deliberately or indeliberately, purposefully or by default, choosing a vibration that is not in alignment with the way Source sees it, and holding myself there until it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Drama is trying to fix things through action rather than at the early stages through vibrational shifting. Drama is the umbrella result of being insensitive in the early stages to your emotion. You talk more than you listen, and you act more than you feel, and you talk more than you hear, and you don't allow the receptive mode very often. But when you do, you are brilliant. And the reason that when you do, you're brilliant is because you've lived enough contrast that you've really put amazing things in your vortex. So you are called in a very strong way. And when someone is called in a very strong way and they don't go, you take it really hard. And that's why you're dramatic. If you hadn't put plenty in your vortex and you weren't being called in a really strong way, if someone called you on the telephone and said, hello, you don't know me, I'm just calling to tell you I will never call you again, you'd say, all right. But if someone you really care about called and said, you're never going to hear from me again, you would feel drama. So it's sort of kind of like that. You have a basis of understanding. Just keep applying it. The encouragement that we would give to you is lighten up on yourself and try not to be so introspective through the eyes of others, because everybody else has got a distorted point of view of you, and not because they don't care, but just because nobody else has the tools. Nobody else knows who you are coming in. Nobody else knows what your vortex now is. Nobody else knows what your path of least resistance is. Only you know, and only you can feel it, you see. So trust yourself. You can. In other words, that's all part of figuring it out. So you're never off your path. You're never off your path, so you're never lost. Just sometimes you're pointed in the wrong direction on your path, but you're never off your path. And after a while, it gets really clear which is upstream and which is downstream, or which is more resistance and which is less resistance. So this isn't as hard. All of you are going to find this so much easier now that you're understanding about emotions and allowing and path. It's close to impossible. In fact, we are blunt and willing and wanting to say it is impossible to guide yourself effectively by trying to study enough conditions of life that others are presenting to you and making right choices just based upon the conditions that they want you to choose through multiple choice. You cannot possibly do it. If you take your emotions out of the equation, you are lost. Everyone is, but you're not. Because you feel your emotions in a very strong way. But you second guess those emotions because most everybody around you doesn't know about that. And so they want you to be more like them and not be so feeling and not be emotional and not care about how you feel. We don't want to sound unkind to anybody, but almost everybody would rather that you do what they need you to do so that they can feel better than that you do what you do so that you can feel better. It's just sort of a function of the way people are, because most people are living conditionally. And it's a rarefied atmosphere who understands law of attraction and point of attraction. It's a rarefied atmosphere who are masters of creation, you see, and you are among them. So just relax and enjoy the unfolding. This is the thing that will make the difference. Every single thing that you or anyone has ever wanted or ever will want is because you think you will feel better in the having of it. But when you are wanting a condition, an object or a condition, and you haven't done the vibrational work, you just can't get there. And so that's why, after a while, you sort of give up on wanting. It would be like saying, I'm going to go to Atlanta from here. Which direction is Atlanta from here? Atlanta is south. Well, I'm not going south. I'm going north, because the earth is round. And I know that if I persevere, I'm going to do it my way. I'm not going to take the path of least resistance. I'm going to take the path of most resistance. And I'm going to get really tired and give up before I get to Atlanta. And so the reason that that analogy was better than you know is because unless you are understanding that your desire is a vibration that you're translating into an emotion, and that that emotion is good enough for now, you're not going to maintain that enough to then receive the inspiration to take it all the way to the finish line. Yeah. There will not be a more valuable discussion ever, a demonstration of condition over emotion, a demonstration of what is over what can be, a demonstration of powerful desire. Most people never get to that place of powerful desire. They give up on the desire. They don't allow themselves to care that much about something that they can't accomplish. Really, 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 really good thing.